Dawn didn't kill my lights. The HOA did. The pump coughed once and quit. The barn went so quiet I could hear wire cool. A laminated tag flapped on the meter like a cheap flag. 4:12:07. Notice. Power termination received 03:17 blue ink slashed across the bottom Deborah Wynn chair. She always signed in blue like the color made it law. Earl, my wife called from the kitchen door. Storm, knock it out? No storm, I said. This is human. Did we miss a bill paid last week? I tapped the tag. They used landscaping code to cut electricity. Landscaping Harvard 12:07 is hedges and porch decor, I said, not power. Boots crunched on gravel. Hank from next door leaned on the fence. Heard the hum, die Earl. Hum died because someone likes paper more than people. They can do that. They did, I said. The question is whether they get away with it. Call the county. On my list. First pictures. Click, click. I photographed code seal in that confident blue signature. You want coffee? My wife asked. Please. And the green binder. The bylaws. Yep. We're going to read them harder than they did. She ducked inside. Hank squinted at the line feeding our place. Generator. Not yet, I said. We let them know I'm awake. How, dates, and circles. I wrote the date on the tag margin circled Peter 12:07 and taped the edge so wind wouldn't peel it free. Deborah's pen, Hank said. You gonna call her? I'll call Mara at the clerk's office, I said. Deborah gets a call, she can't hang up. My wife returned with coffee and the green binder. Covenants Architectural Review Landscaping here, I said. Nothing about power, she knows that my wife said. She knows, and did it anyway, I said. Because most folks won't push back. You pushing, Hank asked. I'm recording, I said. Recording beats rage. You're cooler than I'd be, he said. I'm not cool, I said. I'm cornered. Hank pointed toward the cul-de-sac. Incoming. Deborah's white SUV rolled up glossy and sure. She parked by our mailbox and stepped out with a clipboard. Morning, she chimed. Compliance week. You should have received email notice. Got paper notice, I said, raising the tag. Wrong statute for the job. Aesthetic violations affect community value, she recited. Non-compliant structures include obtrusive equipment, utility hardware, and utility hardware, I said. Like power meters, like visible conduits and enclosures that run my farm, I said. You cut electricity using landscaping code. Perhaps if your hedges were trimmed to regulation height, the meter wouldn't be so prominent, she said. That's rich, Hank muttered. You're outside your lane. Deborah, I said. The board authorized enforcement, she said. Then the board can watch this, I said, snapping another photo, and the county can watch too. If you're threatening legal action, I'm promising documentation, I said. Say cheese. Earl, my wife said softly. Keep it calm. Calm is the plan, I said. Calm is very loud in a hearing. Your generator is unapproved, Deborah said. It's unplugged, I said. Return it to storage or we'll assess a fine. Assess all the paper you like, I said. I'll bring the ink. We'll be back this afternoon, she said. Bring the code book, I said. You'll need the right page. She drove off, taillights winking. She's not used to folks talking back, Hank said. Most of us want quiet, I said. Quiet doesn't mean blind. My phone buzzed. Text from Tommy Riker, retired lineman. You up? Heard the silence. Need a hand? Yeah, I murmured. I need a hand and a record. I typed, bring your old camera, and the orange hard hat. What's first, my wife asked. County, I said. Mara at the clerk. We file before noon. Folder. Start 2, I said. Digital and paper. Title them the same. You and your twins, she said. Proof has to match itself, I said. Otherwise, folks call it a story. You'll lose a day of water, Hank said. I'll make it up, I said, if the law still speaks English. This end fast. No, I said. It ends right. I photographed the box again and slid the binder under my arm. County first? My wife asked. County first, I said. You nervous? She asked. I'm careful, I said. Nervous wastes the battery. You think Deborah backs down? She doesn't back down, I said. She pivots. To what? Fines. Inspections. Noise about value. Then what do? We make value. Visible, I said. Exhibits. Times. Stamps. Stamps. Filed. 0317, I said. If she loves that number, I'll love it louder. She laughed once despite herself. You're going to be polite, right? Polite and precise, I said. That's the sharpest tone. What if they stall? Then we escalate, I said. One office higher. Tallahassee. If needed. We passed the mailbox bank. A flyer fluttered Compliance Week courtesy reminders. Deborah's blue signature gleamed like a little ruler across everyone's porch. Take a photo, my wife said. Already did, I said. Exhibit C. You labeling them in your head, I'm labeling them out loud if I have to, I said. So the record can't pretend it forgot. She rested her hand on my arm. Win it legal. Only way I want it, I said. We rolled past the farm's fence line. Without the pump, the field looked thirsty in the stubborn light. You hate leaving it like this, she said. I do, I said, but the meter loves witnesses more than wrenches today. She nodded, then stared through the windshield. There she is again. Deborah's SUV appeared in the rear view 2 car lengths back. She following us, my wife asked. She's performing, I said. Let her enjoy the preview. I checked my watch. County opens in 10. Earl, my wife said quietly, promise me something. What's that? If they mock you, I record it, I said. If they threaten fines, I record it. If they smirk, I record that too, I said. Smile belongs in the file. I turned into the lot beneath the faded county seal. Ready, she asked. Ready, I said, lifting the binder and the tag photo. If this goes wrong, she asked. I looked at the meter image on my phone, the blue slant of Deborah's name, the hour stamped in black. Then I'll give them something simple, I said. Power shouldn't be a mood. Justice smells like toner and old paper. The county building hummed with fluorescent fatigue. A queue curved past faded posters. I held my binder and the printed photo of the tag, the blue slash of Deborah's name visible through the sheet. Next, the clerk called. Her nameplate read Mara Lee. Morning, I said, sliding the notice. HOA cut power using 1207. Landscaping. I need to file a complaint. She scanned the tag, then the bylaw page. You're Earl Jackson. Yes, ma'am. You brought exhibits. I brought the only language they answer. Mara pulled a stamp from its cradle. We'll open a file. You'll want your own timestamp. Yes, ma'am, I said. That number matters. She fed my affidavit into the copier and stamped the first sheet with a clean, hard motion. Filed 0317. My shoulders dropped a fraction. I went to 07 is Hedges Setbacks Seasonal Decor, Mara said. Not utilities. I read it twice. You read it clean. Most folks don't. My phone buzzed. Tom, you at county. I texted back. Yes. Clerk confirms misuse. Mara slid a packet through. We'll send a notice to the HOA, request their basis for termination, and ask your provider for record of service changes. Make 3 copies, Tom said. One for someone who pretends to lose it. Already on it, I said. A provider for service logs, he said. Doing that today, I said. They'll spin aesthetics, I said. Aesthetics doesn't put water on a field. Thank you. Keep copies, Mara said, and keep breathing. I tucked the stamped pages into a clean sleeve. A man behind me cleared his throat. They got you 2 different chapter, I said. Same pen. Outside, the flag at the post office tugged the halyard with a soft clink. I snapped the county seal. Then the wall clock through the glass, because clocks tell juries that time kept its promise. Tom's truck swung in. He stepped out in a co-op cap orange hard hat under his arm. You filed, he asked. Filed, I said, lifting the packet. 0317. Good number, he said. Memorable. Deborah likes memorable, I said. She prints it on people. Tom nodded toward the bulletin board by the mailbox bank. Let's grab that too. We crossed the lot. The board wore a fresh layer of Compliance Week flyers, each corner stapled neat. Tom peeled one half loose, took a photo, then smoothed it back. "Record everything he said." "I am." He jerked his chin toward the diner. "Coffee. You look like a man powered by fumes." The diner smelled like bacon and noon hopes. Cups clinked. We took a booth under a photograph of a ribbon cutting where everyone looked 10 years less tired. "Copy of your packet?" Tom asked. "Exhibit A, the bylaw," I said. "Exhibit B, the termination tag. Exhibit C, the flyer. Need an Exhibit D, provider statement. Working on it. Mara will request service logs." "Ask for them yourself anyway," he said. 2 roads beat 1 road when someone sets out barricades. The waitress poured coffee. "Sugar, just proof," Tom said. "We're short on that today," she said, grinning. The bell over the door jingled. Deborah's white SUV flashed by the window. She came in with a clipboard, tucked-tight smile preloaded. "Mr. Jackson," she said. "Public venues are for public information. Perhaps we should all be transparent." Tom didn't turn. "Ma'am." Deborah slid into the booth behind me without asking, clipboard angled so the room could see stacked forms. For the record, the board acted within our discretionary guidelines to protect community value. "The record likes specifics," I said. "Which guideline authorizes cutting a farm's electricity?" "Non-compliant visibility," she said. "Enclosures, conduits, and appurtenances must not present unsightly impact." "Power is unsightly now." "Your installation is prominent from the road," she said, "and your generator unplugged. Was placed without prior approval," she finished. "Our residents expect beauty." Tom nodded at the server. "Beauty brewed yet." The waitress topped our cups. Deborah watched a smile, freezing a millimeter. "You filed a complaint," she said. "How industrious." "It's called a day's work," I said. "You should try one outside a clipboard." A couple at the counter looked over. The cashier stopped hammering and listened. Deborah tapped her pen. "You're welcome to appeal within the association." "I did," I said. "You? Twice?" You waved it away. "Appeals require decorum," she said. "You raised your voice." Tom coughed a laugh. "He raises voltage, not voices." I slid a copy of the stamp across the table. She didn't touch it. The black impression shone under the fluorescent light. "Filed 03-17. A county stamp doesn't override our covenants," she said. "It does when covenants get used like a crowbar." Tom leaned in, voice low. "Ma'am, you're out over your skis." She blinked. "Pardon, he means you stretched a landscaping rule until it covered theft of service," I said. "Words," she said lightly. "You gentlemen do adore them." "We adore water," I said. "Corn does too." She stood, smoothing her blazer. "We'll see what value the county places on your aesthetics." I kept my voice steady. "Then you'll love how the governor defines beauty. If they cut the line, I'll build my own." Tom slid a diner napkin across my tool bench. He'd sketched a crude circuit with a coffee stirrer, arrows for flow, a rectangle for transfer switch, a bold X through backfeed. The radio on the shelf hissed through a ball game and then settled into static like it was holding its breath. "Rule 1, Tom said, tapping the rectangle. "No cowboy wiring. We do this clean or we don't do it." "Clean," I said, and recorded. He nodded at the green binder. "Tonight, the grid fights back, but on paper first." We set the portable on a dolly and rolled it to the pump shed. The night lay flat and cool. The field beyond the fence looked like a dark ocean waiting on weather. Camera 1, porch eave, caught our shoulders moving under the yard light. Camera 2, gable of the barn, saw the meter box and the tagged notice ruffling under a small wind. I had added a third lens in the flower bed pointed low across the grass where Deborah loved to stage her authority. "Angle's good," Tom said. "Label your streams." I thumbed names into the app: Cam 1, barn. Cam 2, box. Cam 3, lawn. Time stamps popped in the corner: 22, 17 to 43. The radio muttered a weather advisory and clicked back to silence. "Transfer switch," Tom said, thumbing the cover. Say the step. Break mains. Engage interlock. Test load with dummy circuit. Log amperage. Film everything. He cracked a smile. You went to the Church of Documentation. Hard pews, I said. We killed the house mains. The dark hit with a soft thunk. The generator's fuel cap ticked. I primed, glanced at the lens of KM2, and pulled. The engine barked, stumbled, then steadied into a tight mechanical heartbeat. Sound check, Tom said. Give your future self something a jury can hear. Generator at idle, I said to camera. Transfer switch closed. Meter sealed with HR1207 notice. Farm power currently via temporary supply for irrigation protection only. Tom leaned near the mic. And no backfeed, he said, because we like linemen alive. The pump coughed to life. A thin line of water skated along the furrows. The field exhaled like a man after a long drive. I logged the time in the binder, 22:28, temporary flow established. The radio fell into old country for a bar, then returned to static. Set your trip lines, Tom said. I opened the app and drew invisible fences across the lawn, the mailbox, the approach to the meter box. Between 22:30 and 00:30, I said. She likes late walks. Some folks like power more than sleep, Tom said. We moved back to the bench. Under the porch bulb, the napkin map faded into soft brown. Coffee stains looked like old constellations. Tom clicked the pen and wrote, Exhibit D Video Index on the top of a legal pad. You're building a record, not a movie, he said. It can be both, I said. If the record has good angles. The barn camera pinged. Motion cam 2. Box 224106. Tom turned his cap backward. Don't touch anything, he said. Let it happen. Through the phone, we watched the meter box sit still under the night. Wind flexed the tag. A shape coalesced at the edge white sleeve, a rectangle of clipboard, a pulse of phone glass. Deborah. I breathed. She stepped into frame like she rehearsed it the way people do when they believe walls are on their side. She looked left-right, then reached toward the tag with 2 fingers. Say it, Tom whispered. Camera rolling, I said barely above air. KM2 box. Subject approaches, HOA, notice, 2241. 22. Her fingers pinched the corner of the tag, tugged, then paused. She turned her face toward the camera and gave a small smile, the kind you save for neighbors you fine. She mouthed something. I raised the phone volume and scrubbed back 2 seconds. Unsightly, the tiny speaker whispered. She just gave you an adjective, Tom said. Jurors love adjectives. Deborah looked down, tugged again. The tape held. She switched hands, braced the clipboard against the post, and peeled the edge free with slow, patient pressure like she was erasing a mistake on a test she wrote. The tag lifted. The flowerbed camera pinged. Motion, cam 3, lon 22, 41, 31. From the low angle, we saw her toss the painter's tape aside like a spent ribbon. The lens caught the tape landing by the azalea sticky side up. She's in your yard, Tom said. In the HOA's mind, everything is, I said. Deborah folded the tag once, twice, then tucked it under the clipboard. She looked at the lens again with that millimeter smile. Say your line, Tom murmured. I tapped the mic icon so the feed would capture it. You're on camera, ma'am, I said even and plain. This is evidence. She didn't flinch. She raised her phone, aimed it at the box, and snapped a shot like a tourist in front of a monument. The sound carried through the night, chick unbothered. Got your time, Tom said, watching the stamp blink in the corner, 22:41:49. She stepped back, heel finding the edge of the flower bed, and then she did the little tilt of head I'd seen in meetings, satisfaction disguised as correction. She turned and walked out of frame, the white sleeve shrinking to a thread, and then nothing. I exhaled. The generator purred in the silence like a patient animal. Tom pointed to the screen. Freeze. 22:41. 31, he said. That's the peel. I scrubbed back and held the frame. We could see the tag at a diagonal mid-air, the painter's tape still stuck to one corner as it separated. The camera's autofocus breathed in and out, then sharpened. "Gotcha," I said. Tom grinned. "Label it." I typed on the legal pad, Exhibit D, Cam 2, 22, 41, 31, Peel. Then under that, Exhibit E, Cam 3, 22, 41, 49, Phone, Photo. Tom tapped the napkin with the circuit. "Add the audio line." I wrote, "Audio, you're on camera, ma'am. This is evidence." The barn light hummed. A moth smacked the bulb like a soft coin toss. The radio clicked and the ballgame voice returned just long enough to say tie score before surrendering to static. "Next step?" Tom asked. "County copy," I said. Then provider logs. "And the meeting," he said. "She'll want the stage." "Good," I said. "Stages have microphones." He folded the napkin and tucked it into a clear sleeve. "Artifact now," he said. "Nobody believes a story about a napkin until they see the grease." Another ping. "Motion, Cam 2 Box 22, 5304. We looked. Cat. Tail like a question mark. I breathed out a laugh I didn't know I'd been holding. She left with the tag, Tom said. "That's removal of posted notice. Call it what we can prove," I said. "We can prove hands, time, and tape." Tom capped the pen. "And you can prove tone." I glanced at the paused frame, that small smile trained at the lens as the tag rose away from law. I sent the still to my archive, named it like it deserved a shelf. "Thanks for the confession, ma'am," I said to the empty yard. They wanted silence. I brought sound. The town hall smelled like floor wax and old ballots. Rows of gray folding chairs lined up under fluorescent hum. At the front, a portable projector purred on a rolling cart, casting a blue rectangle against a pull-down screen. Beside it, the HOA's plat map was taped to a corkboard parcel, lines in red, the easement shaded pale like a bruise no one wanted to admit. Neighbors trickled in jackets, whispering, cups clacking against chair legs. Mark, the HOA president, adjusted a crooked microphone and smiled the way people smile at weather, politely, as if it might pass. "Call to order," he said. "Agenda, community aesthetics, seasonal decor, and electricity," I said, standing with my binder. "Specifically, mine." A camera crew from the local station eased into the side aisle. The reporter's boom mic hung like a curious bird. Deborah sat center table, blazer-sharp clipboard tighter than ever. She didn't look at the screen. She looked at the room. Mark cleared his throat. "We ask for civility." "Civility is why I brought video," I said. "Projector ready." The tech plugged in an HDMI cable. The projector blinked, hummed, and resolved to KM2. "Box my yard at 2241. The meter, the tag, the night holding its breath. Deborah leaned toward Mark. "We will not." "You asked for transparency," I said. "Let's see it." The clip rolled. Wind fluttered the Pautar's 12-07 notice. A white sleeve slid into frame. Fingers pinched the corner. Murmurs. Chair legs squeaked. Someone whispered, "Is that her?" Deborah's face turned to the lens, that millimeter smile blooming. She tugged. The tape held, then lifted. On CM3 lawn, the painter's tape toppled into the azalea bed like a fallen ribbon. Tom, 2 rows back, folded his arms. "Got the peel," he murmured. I let the audio play. My voice. "You're on camera, ma'am. This is evidence." Deborah's jaw held still. Mark reached for the mic. "We have not verified the source of this." "Tonight is verification," I said. I paused and zoomed the frame. Timestamp 22:41:31. Subject: HOA chair removes posted notice. That tag was the justification for cutting my power under landscaping code. A woman in the third row lifted her phone, recording the wall. "I got fined for a wreath," she said. "They never showed video for that." Mark tapped his gavel once. "We remind attendees that private recordings may be lawful from my property," I said. "You used Aaron 12-07 like a crowbar. The county stamped my complaint this morning. Filed 03-17. The reporter raised a hand. Chair, win, response. Deborah faced the room like a news anchor. Selective footage misleads. Non-compliant visibility is detrimental to value. We acted within our discretion to reduce unsightly impact. Power is unsightly, Tom called. Our covenants protect appearance, Deborah said. His generator was unapproved and my phone buzzed. A text from Hank Code Truck at your place. They're tagging the generator. Another, a photo orange sticker slapped across the shroud. Seize, remove. Unapproved installation. I held the screen up. Prop number 2. They're seizing my generator right now. Gasps. Someone stood. During the meeting, while we sit under a projector, I said. They shut off the line, and when I built my own, they called it ugly. Deborah's smile thinned. Safety concerns require immediate. It's not running, I said. It's parked and documented. You want silence. I brought sound. I resumed the video. The moment her phone snapped, a picture of my meter echoed through the hall. Cheek, a clean, indifferent sound. The projector's fan rose a note the way machines do when rooms feel hotter than they are. Mark leaned into the mic. Mr. Jackson, your time is being billed by my crops, I said. Here's the plat. I pointed at the corkboard. Easement ends at the sidewalk. Meter sits wholly on my parcel. Landscaping code doesn't govern utilities. The tech slid the map closer to the light. Property lines glowed red across the wall like someone had underlined my front yard with a laser pointer. A man near the back blue postal shirt said, If it's on his parcel, you can't cut it with wreath rules. Deborah raised her clipboard. The board will not adjudicate legal nuances in a public forum. That's what forums are for, I said, to keep power from dressing up his taste. Tom stood now, voice steady. You've got the wrong tool for the job. You used scissors on wire. The reporter leaned toward Deborah again. Will you restore service pending county review? Deborah tapped her pen. We will follow procedure. Which one, I asked. The one you wrote in blue ink. Mark banged the gavel twice. We're adjourning. This meeting is out of order. Chairs scraped. Voices rose, then braided into one angry thread. The projector fan kept humming, throwing Deborah's paused frame against the wall, her fingertips at the tag mid-peel like the truth had caught her wrist and wouldn't let go. Adjourned, Mark said again. The camera crew stayed put. I closed my binder. If they won't listen here, I said loud enough to carry Tallahassee will. The gavel hit wood. The screen went dark. The hum hung a second longer like the projector wanted to keep testifying. Outside, the cold bit clean across the steps. My phone buzzed again, another photo of the orange sticker on the generator, this one closer, the adhesive wrinkles holding like a promise. I sent the county a copy, added one line to the subject, public hearing evidence attached. Behind me, the hall door thumped shut. In the reflection, I saw neighbors gathered in little knots talking with their hands. When people start drawing lines in the air, maps begin to change. They unplugged me. I called higher voltage. Morning settled clean over the porch, thin light catching the dew on my binder. The generator sat cold, its orange seizure tag wrinkled like an old wound. I stacked the exhibit's video stills, the plat map, the seizure photo, then read Mara's text packet forwarded to the governor's office. Call to confirm receipt. Add seizure photo as Addendum A. I dialed her anyway. It moved, I asked. It moved, she said. They'll open a portal, upload everything, and talk like you're testifying. Tom called next. Got your clip on local news, he said. Half the town's cheering, half's waiting to see if the lights come back. Just keep your tone steady. Paper's power now. The porch radio clicked through static and settled on weather updates, drought talk, polite panic. I opened my laptop and logged into the state portal. Gray, orderly, built by lawyers. At the top, Governor's Office of Policy and Accountability upload evidence. Below that, a contact Elena Navarro aide. I uploaded everything, the removal video, the timestamps, the county stamp labeled Filed 0317. Each title looked like a nail hammered into silence. At 8:31, I called the number. Governor's Office. Navarro, she said, crisp, calm. No caffeine in her voice. "Ma'am, this is Earl Jackson from Riverbend. You should have—" "I see it," she interrupted. "Videos play. Who authorized your power?" "Shut off HOA Chair Deborah Wynn. Blue ink. R1207 Landscaping Clause. Blue ink doesn't make law." Her keyboard clattered small lightning. "This looks like misuse. We'll start a review. You'll get acknowledgement soon. What does that mean in plain English? Means your complaint just climbed out of the county." I exhaled. "Ma'am, you can unplug a farm, but you can't unplug the truth." "Silence, then. That'll read well into record, Mr. Jackson. Hold music bled in strings and patience." I stared at the horizon. A crow landed on the fence cawing like a town crier. Then a chime. Email. "Governor's Review received. 0317. File number GR250317 RB." The seal looked embossed even through the screen. Navarro came back. "You're active, Mr. Jackson. Governor's office has opened investigation GR250317 RB. We're requesting HOA enforcement logs and county cooperation. If we find misuse, we audit. Audit means what exactly authority to freeze permits or issue sanctions." I almost smiled. "Sounds like current flow restored. Don't celebrate voltage yet. We confirm facts first." "Understood. Stay civil, stay quiet," she added. "Let the paper walk." When we hung up, the quiet felt new. Not defeat quiet pause. Quiet, the kind you hear right before a breaker resets. At noon, I stopped by Mac's BBQ. The counter smelled of smoke and relief. "You're the farmer on the news," the cashier asked. "I'm the one with the camera," I said. "Good. People are tired of rules written in invisible ink." Tom texted. "State took it. Confirmed." I replied. "Audit pending." He sent back a thumbs up. "Told you finally someone fought back." Outside, the sun made mirrors of the car hoods. My phone buzzed again. Mark Bowen, HOA, President. "Earl." "We got a letter from the governor's office," he said, voice lower than usual. So did I. "They're reviewing enforcement practices. We'll convene a special meeting." The letter calls it a pause mark. You can't find silence. A long pause. Understood. I ended the call and looked across the parking lot. The power lines shimmered in heat like strings on an instrument tuning itself. Somewhere, bureaucracy had turned into music. Next hearing isn't local anymore. Same code, new justice. The state press hall felt built to flatten noise. Polished wood. Flags set like guardrails. Banked lights warmed the seal on the lectern until the gold leaf threw a little sun back at the cameras. I stood behind the rope line with my binder, the green edge nicked from weeks of being opened on hard tables. On the riser, a projector idled. Its fan stitched a constant hush through the room. A staffer clipped a state order packet to a foam board and slid it onto an easel. At the top, the seal. Mid-page, a line I could read from 20 feet. Order 0317. I felt that number land like a nail finally seated. Tom's text buzzed in my pocket. Steady voice. "Smile with your eyes only." I thumbed back, "Here." Then slipped the phone away and watched a technician focus the center camera until the governor's seal reflected white sharp and indisputable. Governor Hayes stepped out in a navy suit and a tie the color of a courthouse carpet. The room rose to a low rustle chairs, whispers the soft hydraulics of attention setting. He didn't wave. He gripped the lectern like a man used to speaking from measurements. "Good morning," he said. "We have concluded a limited review of enforcement actions by the Riverbend Homeowners Association. We reviewed bylaws, termination records, fines, correspondence, and video." He glanced right. "We also reviewed the invocation of Part 112-07, a seasonal landscaping provision used to justify disabling electric service to private property." The reporters leaned forward together. Deborah stood 3 rows off the aisle with her clipboard tucked under an arm that had no place to put itself. Her smile had run out of millimeters. Hayes lifted a single sheet and read. Finding. Section 12007 concerns appearance hedges, setbacks, visible objects. It does not govern utilities. Use of #1207 to terminate power was outside authority. He set the sheet to his left and reached for another. Order 0317. Effective immediately. 1. Restore service. 2. Cease enforcement actions tied to #1207 against essential services. 3. Refund assessments and fees related to this misuse. 4. Revoke the association's land improvement permit pending compliance training and an outside audit. Cameras clicked like hail. The seal on the lectern flashed in the bursts bright enough to throw a small crescent on Hayes's jaw. A reporter. "Governor, is this unprecedented rare?" Hayes said. "Not unprecedented. What triggered the review paper," he said, "and a clean record of it." He nodded to the projector tech. The screen filled with the freeze frame I'd pulled 3 nights ago, 22, 41, 31. Deborah's fingers mid-peel the tag, lifting painter's tape bridging air. The caption bar read like a courtroom whisper. KM2 box. HOA, notice, removal. Another reporter, "Is the chair here today?" Deborah stepped forward without being asked. Her shoes sounded thin on the wood. She stopped a yard from the rope line and faced the wall of lenses. Ms. Wynne, Mike, said response. "We acted to maintain value." She answered, eyes fixed somewhere between the seal and its reflection. Hayes didn't look at her. "Value requires rules," he said, "and rules require limits." My mouth was dry enough to fold paper. I swallowed and found the pocket of breath Tom had told me to keep. The governor lifted the state order packet and tapped the page where the line about revocation sat like a well-placed weight. "The permit is suspended under the same numbering that was misused," he said. "Call it symmetry if you like. Same code. New justice." A reporter near the aisle. "Mr. Jackson, you're the property owner. Comment?" I kept my voice level. "Current finds its way back to the right circuit." Pens scratched that sentence like they were glad to be told what to remember. Hayes signed the order with a pen that left a dark river of ink. The press pool leaned in again. He set the pen down the nib, ticking once against the wood. "Service restoration is immediate," he said. "Refund timeline is 30 days. The permit, 0317, is revoked until the association completes training files a corrective plan and submits to audit." Another question. Does revocation reach past landscaping approvals? "It pauses land improvements under HOA authority," Hayes said. "Road, ditch, common area grading signage. Anything tied to that permit number. County and providers have been notified." I watched Deborah hear the word pauses the way a diver hears hold. Her clipboard slid lower like gravity had remembered it. A hand went up from a public radio reporter. "Governor, what do you say to folks who think this is the state interfering in small matters?" Hayes considered it. "Power isn't small," he said. "Neither is water." He looked straight into the middle lens. "When aesthetics tries to govern utilities, government reminds aesthetics where it ends." The projector hummed on. The frame changed to the plat map from the town hall, the red parcel line, the easement's neat stop at the sidewalk. A thin laser pointer dot circled the meter location with slow precision. Navarro, the aide, stepped to a side mic. "Order and findings will post within the hour. The file is GR250317-RB. Parties will receive notice electronically." She scanned the back row until she found me. "Mr. Jackson, check your portal for the enforcement pause letter." I nodded once. "Yes, ma'am." Hayes closed the folder. "We're done." He didn't strike the lectern. He just let the seal catch one last flare and stepped off the riser. Deborah didn't move right away. When she did, it was only to shift weight. The clipboard clicked against her hip. She lowered her head, not in theater, not in prayer, just the angle of someone who'd found the edge of a table in the dark and learned its shape the hard way. Tom's text buzzed again. "You're plugged back in. Utility posted restoration complete." I looked down at the portal on my phone. "Service restored. Confirmed." 0317 blinked over a simple line of type that didn't celebrate. It just recorded. Reporters spilled into the aisle packing cases, shouldering tripods, reciting stand-ups. I closed my binder. The little nick on the green edge didn't matter now. It looked like a notch. I turned once more to the lectern. The seal still reflected camera light, a small bright coin flickering and then settling as the switches clicked off. For once, the current runs the right way. Power's back, but peace is rarer. The town square smelled of chalk dust and coffee. Late sun leaned through the branches of the old oak, turning the tables below gold and warm. The hum of my meter had returned at home steady as breath, but here the silence of the generator felt more powerful than noise. A circle of folding tables stood under the tree. On them, a coffee urn, a ballot jar, and a thick draft marked Proposed HOA Bylaws Revision 03-17. The state's letter of thanks sat in a clear frame beside it. The seal caught sunlight like a coin, and under it, Acknowledgement of Community Cooperation, GR 250317, RB. Mara adjusted the microphone at the gazebo. "All right," she said, smiling. "We'll begin with the new language for Power 1207. Patricia." She'd once been fined for a wreath read aloud, voice steady. "Aesthetics applies to appearance, not to essential utilities. Water power and access are beyond discretionary taste." Applause came small but real, the kind that starts low like gravel before a storm. Tom arrived carrying a metal toolbox that clinked each time he shifted it. "You planning to fix the building or the people I asked?" He grinned. "Sometimes they're the same thing." He set the box down, unopened. "Tonight, I'm just here to watch you all keep the lights on without flipping breakers." The ballots were folded paper, no machines. Folks dropped them into the mason jar like old habits being repurposed. Mara shook it once paper whispering like dry leaves and handed it to 2 volunteers to count. Under the oak, I caught sight of the bulletin board, the refund form pinned neatly beside a new ledger template. Transparency, monthly expenditures and enforcement actions. The word transparency had been written in Sharpie, underlined twice. Tom elbowed me lightly. "Looks like power's back in more than one circuit." When the count came through, Patricia raised the tally sheet. "We have a new board," she said. "Unanimous vote. No speeches, no gavel, just quiet relief." Neighbors who hadn't met each other's eyes in months now nodded. Someone brought pie. Someone else started folding the chairs they'd carried in. Mara handed me an envelope. Governor's aide asked me to deliver this. Inside was a typed note under the state seal. "Thank you for proving that rules can bend toward right. Communities heal when process holds." The letter smelled faintly of toner and sunshine. I slipped it into the screen binder behind the audit file. Tom leaned closer. "Keep that binder. One day, someone will need to see proof healing happened." I looked at him. "Feels strange not to be fighting." "That's the best kind of strange," he said. "You fixed more than wires." A boy on a scooter stopped near us looking up at the tree. "Mister, are you the man from TV?" "Just a neighbor," I said. He pointed at the oak. "My grandpa says that tree's older than the county. Then it's seen everything I said, even us learning manners." Tom chuckled half under his breath. "Maybe justice really does grow roots." By sunset, the square emptied. The refund notice fluttered once, then pinned itself calm in the cooling air. Patricia locked the ballot jar inside the town hall, an artifact of a long argument finally reaching silence. I stood by the oak looking at the ground. Roots had cracked through the bricks years ago. Now the cracks looked less like damage and more like proof something lived underneath. The hum of streetlights came on low and steady, matching the pulse I hadn't realized I'd missed. Mara packed her recorder. "That's all for today," she said. "Next meeting's for community projects. No agenda item labeled power." "Good sign," I said. Tom swung his toolbox up with one hand. "Come on, before someone nominates us again." As we walked toward the lot, the last beam of sunlight hit the glass frame on the table. The state seal reflected back like a little sun, steady earned unblinking. I paused at the steps and turned once more to the oak. Wind moved through the branches, scattering thin leaves that landed quietly on the new bylaws like signatures no one had to forge. Maybe justice really does grow roots. When the lights came back, they weren't just mine. Sunset poured copper over the community garden. Tomato cages threw long ribs of shadow across the mulch. A low radio on the potting bench replayed the Tallahassee press conference. The governor's voice clipped and steady, the seal's brightness somehow audible through the speaker. Near the path, a new plaque caught the last light funded by HOA refunds 2024. Tom handed me a chipped diner cup filled with lemonade. No generator in the background, he said, listening. Best silence we've bought, I said. Mara set a folder on the garden bench. Final confirmations, she said. Refunds issued. Training scheduled. Permit 0317 revoked until the audit closes. Ledger posts next week. Neighbors drifted in from porches and driveways, slow and unhurried, like the town had remembered its feet. Someone strung mason jar lights along the fence. Their glow rose with the dusk like careful promises. Kids chased each other between the raised beds and returned with mint on their hands. At the far end of the lot sat my portable generator, clean-fueled and unneeded. I'd kept it for one more night on principle, like a witness waiting to be dismissed. The radio carried the line again. Restore service refund fees, revoke permit 0317, and the garden seemed to nod. Speech, Patricia said, smiling. Short. We're planting beans. I cleared my throat and kept my eyes on the plaque. We made a record, we followed it, and power came back where it belonged. I lifted the cup toward the radio, and we learned that paper speaks louder when it's read into a mic. Tom nudged me. Say the part people will repeat. I looked at the kids, the jars, the plaque. Finally, someone fought back lawfully. The radio crackled as if it agreed. People didn't cheer, they breathed out together, shoulders lowering like cables losing strain. Someone said amen so quietly it kept its feet on the ground. Mara opened her folder. One last item, she said. County accepts custodial access to your video archive, Mr. Jackson, with your consent. You've got it, I said, with captions. Time-stamp stay. Good, she said. Truth ages better when it keeps its dates. We walked the path once, the three of us. The mason jar lights warmed to full. The plaque held steady. At the bench, Tom pointed at the generator. You gonna do it? I think it's earned, I said. I rolled the unit to the edge of the lot where the path met the gravel. Neighbors turned without anyone asking. Circles form around moments the way water forms around a stone. I rested a hand on the pull cord and glanced at the radio still carrying the governor's voice now into questions he answered with measurements. Statement for the record, I said. Service restored. Temporary supply retired. Tom grinned. Make it sing. I didn't pull. I reached down, turned the fuel valve off, and let the heart of the machine go quiet by choice. The last vapor of gas gave one small breath the tiniest puh, and the generator settled into earned stillness. People listened to the nothing that followed and heard what they wanted from it. Patricia's boy broke the pause. Can we turn on the jars now? They're already on, she said. You were running too fast to see it. We sat. The radio moved into a recap. The announcer's tone had that careful relief you only hear after storms. I set the diner cup on the bench and watched condensation ring the wood, a small bright circle that would dry and leave proof it had been there. Garden needs a name, Tom said. Mara tapped the plaque. It has one. It's a receipt. Neighbors started sharing stories that had been stuck behind fences, blue ink fines, winter wreaths, trash cans at 8:10. Each ended with a shrug that wasn't surrender this time. It was release. We made a list for the bulletin board: hedge trim Saturday ledger review, Tuesday herbs to the diner, on Friday for the lunch special. A kid found the radio knob and lowered it until the announcer sounded like he'd stepped back to give us the room. Overhead, the lines along the road glowed the way they only do at night, not loud, just present like veins beneath a wrist. Tom raised his cup. To the circuit we actually needed. Mara touched hers to ours, to the paper that held. I looked at the plaque again, at the line of jars, at the path that cut straight and modest through the beds. To neighbors who decided rules could behave. We finished the lemonade and listened to crickets fold themselves into the night. Someone started the hose to rinse trowels. Water checked against metal and then ran clean. On the bench, my green binder lay open to a blank sleeve. I slid the garden flyer inside and wrote on the tab, Legacy. We packed up slow. Tom loaded nothing into his truck. Mara took only the folder. I wheeled the silent generator into the shed and locked it with a small padlock that finally felt like decoration. At the gate, I looked back. The jars glowed like they'd been lit from below by something the ground itself believed. I reached for the latch and let it click home. Turns out, justice hums louder when it's earned. The plaque still catches the evening sun, its letters sharp against brushed steel, funded by HOA Refunds 2024. Beside it, the posted order with the governor's seal flutters once before settling flat. I run my hand over the cool metal and feel the hum beneath it steady as trust rebuilt. Justice here didn't roar. It ran like current through wire, quiet, constant, earned. Finally, someone fought back. Share your HOA story below your map might help someone redraw theirs.